This game was like trying to force out a fart. All you get. We are live from Studio K, presented by our good friends over at Circle K. The only thing good about this day is Circle K, to be honest with you, because you didn't like that cold open. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Welcome back to the Phoenix Mercury podcast. I'm Erika Day, your host for this fine program, Postgame establishment. Mercury obviously just took the L 91-78 to the Las Vegas Aces. I would like to think that we were all watching it together in our postgame, or not our postgame, our watch along, and probably having a good old time together. Even though it was a loss, we still had a good time. So, but I'm with, I guess, QB2, PG1, on and off the field, in and out of the studio, in and out of the WNBA Finals, at least for 2 more games in and out of the WNBA Finals. I get to keep saying that. And Stephen John Garner, how the heck are you doing today?
I'm underwhelmed.
I like that. Well, I don't like that you're underwhelmed, but I'm glad that you kept it short and sweet on that because, frankly, that was we talked about it on the watch along. Like, that was an ugly performance from the Phoenix Mercury. It was not at all on brand. Like, we talked about how neither team really played a super solid game in game one in the post-game show after that game. But this was a fantastic performance from the Las Vegas Aces and let's just say it how it is. Like, they fell short in this performance. The Phoenix Mercury did today. And it was a game that is borderline forgettable if you're a Phoenix Mercury fan because, you know, they start out hot with a 27-point quarter. And I'm sorry, 27-24 lead after that first quarter. And Kahleah Copper was on fire. It just seemed like, not that they were firing on all cylinders, but the correct cylinders were firing in that particular moment. Their defense was definitely left a little to be desired in that first quarter. But to be honest, outside of that, like, it was a great opening period for the Mercury. So then obviously that 10-point second quarter absolutely killed them. Just absolutely killed them. And not even that, but also allowing 22 more Aces points is not, we talked about it at halftime, like that's just not a recipe for winning Mercury basketball. And, you know, we talked about how good this team is with their backs against the wall all year and that they are the comeback kids at the end of the day. And so I'm not left here optimistic-less, but I'm definitely not feeling great after that performance that we just saw from the Phoenix Mercury. I want to get into the one-word burns pretty quickly, but I want to give a quick shout-out to our guy Kevo, who's back behind the Mac tonight after being away from us for 2 short days. I'm sure he wished it was another day after that performance that we saw from the Mercury tonight. But to be honest, the vibes were up on the watch-along. It's not like we were having a terrible time. We still had a fun time. So at the end of the day, you know, it is what it is. We bring it back home on Wednesday, and we hope that the tide will continue to turn. The comeback kid identity, you know, holds true. So I want to get into these one-word burns, though, because, frankly, I'm ready to talk about it. So, Kevin, let's rip the Band-Aid off. I'm deflated, and that's why my word is deflating, because it feels like the team went backwards in a lot of ways after that game one performance. Like, the game one was right there for the taking, right? And then in this game, you're down in the entire second half. You never even come close to tying the game. I think they came within 9 at one point in the second half. But outside of that, like, it was a pretty deflating basketball game if you're a Phoenix Mercury fan.
Yeah, it's perplexing for me. And I say that because if I told you the Mercury's 2 most used lineups were +3 and +8 respectively, you would think the Mercury won today's game. That's just one example of everything's not bad, but the things that were bad, that did go bad, were extremely loud. You start with the second quarter and only scoring 10 points. one thing I've said all season long, honestly, I've said it since the beginning of Kahleah Copper's time with the Mercury. Sub 20-point quarters are not something that this team should be having to go up against. Now, last season's roster was offensive minded, so it's a different reasoning behind it. But this season's roster plays more than enough. It's the best defense in the league. If you have the best defense in the league and you force the amount of turnovers and errant shots that you do, that should be leading to easy opportunities for you. This series can't be won if they're going into fourth quarters or a fourth quarter is something that's 20 or less points. It's just not going to get it done in this series in particular. And the second quarter tonight was akin to the fourth quarter in game one, where they scored 15. A lot of standing around, a lot of watching, ball not moving much, no paint touches. Vegas just switching and they're dictating to you because of the matchups that they're putting on you. You can't succumb to that. So perplexing for me. But on the positive side, and this is why I chose perplexing, there's the negative and there's a positive. Your starting lineup was +3 today in almost 10 and a half minutes. Through all of that, starting lineup, your best lineup or your second best lineup, depending on who you ask. +3. Second lineup that you use, Mo, Satou, Kahleah, DB, and AT. That lineup was +8. That's your best lineup. And your best lineup still was a double-digit positive in terms of the minutes they played, which was 5.5 together today. Everything's not overcast and thunderstorms, but you have to clean up the little things.
And, you and I talked about this on the watch along, and I want to move to your keys right after this, but I want to ask you one quick question. And it's kind of about the mental aspect of all of this and like being down 0-2, bringing it back to Phoenix. And this is a unique series in that this is the first of best of 7. And so it's not like they're coming back to Phoenix with you have to win, but you do have to win. And so a lot of these players, while Kahleah Copper is a finals MVP, like AT has not won a championship. Sabally has definitely never been in this situation, at least not at this level. Mm-hmm. And then, you can go down the list and probably say the same, but there are winners on this team and, Sammy Whitcomb and Dewana Bonner. And so how do those players get the other team kind of on their back and prepare them moving into what definitely is not a must-win game, but if you want to win this series, you need to win this game 3 at home.
It's a must-win for me.
I like that. Okay. If Steven's calling it a must-win, it's a must-win for everybody.
Because that means you have to win 4 straight. And you don't have any room for error.
Listen, this makes Becky Hammond 9-0 in game 2s in Michelob Ultra. Like, she's a hell of a coach. And so, you are not going to out-coach her over and over and over again. You need to catch them, for lack of a better term, kind of slipping. And game 1 was their opportunity in this first 2-game series, for lack of a better term. But so just in your eyes, like, how do you kind of set everything aside and move forward as professionals into game 3 with kind of for lack of a better term, kind of a clean slate?
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's the same thing as you've been doing all playoffs. Not getting too high after wins, not getting too low after losses. And again, contextualizing everything, separate yourself from the moment and look at it from a bird's eye view. It's a 7-game series. It's the first of 4, and the first 2 games were played in Vegas. It's 2-2, 1-1-1. They held serve at home. You have a direct opportunity to go and do the very same on your home court. Doesn't matter how it looks, doesn't matter how it comes about. All that matters is the dub. You're going to get 2 wins at home. We've seen them go on 2+ game win streaks in these playoffs alone. Go and do it again. It's not something different than they've done all playoffs long. It's just happening on the grandest of stages. So things are taking on a little bit more precedence and urgency, if you will. So it's not complicated. They won 2 at home. They did what they were supposed to do as a team that had the higher seed. This is why you do the work in the regular season. Phoenix, you come home to the best home court advantage in the W. Play to that, but also because you play to that, play off of that. Get your return on investment with that. Everything's fun and games until it's potentially 2-2 going back to Vegas, and then it's the sprint to the best of 3.
Yeah.
In the final 3 games. So,
well, I want to do things a little differently today because I feel like you lay such a good groundwork with the keys that I want to give them the proper spotlight before we move into the by the numbers, so that way we can kind of answer the questions before they're even had from the by the numbers. Does that sound like a good plan?
It's cool with me.
Awesome. Kevo, let's move into the Stevens keys so we can kind of review and if they were, done properly.
Key number 1, lean into your versatility and activity on your defense more. Was not the case in today's game. 32 from Jackie Young, 28 from Asia Wilson. Those are the most indicative marks of that. Vegas having 5 turnovers in the first quarter and only finishing with 13. That's not enough. If you're pushing it to that extent, you want to sustain that in some capacity. Those middle 2 quarters, it wasn't a lot of turnovers. There was a lot of shots on goal for the Aces. If not getting a shot on goal, getting 2 shots on goal because of the offensive rebounds and the second chance points that came from that. So they have to be much better at the margins. And I keep harping on those because those are what got the Mercury to the finals. That's what made the Mercury one of the best teams and the best defense in the league this season. Key number 2 is sustaining your offensive execution. That's tempo, that's your player movement, that's the ball movement, going to get paint touches. Everything that made Vegas have to play, they didn't have a choice but to go to their 2-3 zone, which end up getting into a matchup man-to-man after a couple of passes or a paint touch. Becky had to go to that as a last result because of you dictating the terms of the game by how you played on the offensive end of the floor, half court or in transition. They didn't force Vegas to feel uncomfortable defensively at any point in this game today. That's a non-negotiable in game 4 or in game 3 and game 4. If you do that, you should be able to go back to Vegas after those 2 games tied. But if you don't, you probably end up losing one of the games at home. And that's something that can't happen.
That's a nightmare equation for this team.
Exactly.
And listen, it's an uphill battle. There's no other way to say it. I've been saying it for the last hour just to make myself and feel better and make the vibes go back up a little tiny bit. But like, the hard way is not the impossible way. This is a doable thing. And I saw and I'm going to call it the exclamation point media outlet put out a little, no team has ever come back from an 0-2 deficit in the finals. Okay, well, there's also never been a 7-game series before. So,
There's also never been a team that's beat each of the 2 teams that were represented in the finals the season prior in succession with one another to get to the finals.
Yeah.
So if you want to play that game, you can play it on both sides.
It's just the lay of the land in this particular series is different than ever before. And so the stakes are high. You got Asia going for 3rd in 5 years. Like, this is a crazy finals. And then you got AT obviously going for her first, Dawana. And the whole story of it all is diabolical. And so just appreciate it for what it is. Hope the Mercury can get these 2 wins at home on Wednesday and Friday. If you don't have your tickets right now, I don't know what the heck you're doing. Like, they already put the new signage up at the arena. You got to come check it out. Yeah, I couldn't believe my eyes the other day when I was driving home on Friday. I could not believe that they already had that up and at it already. But I do got to tell you guys.
Last key.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off on that.
You good. Last key is bench points. Phoenix had 4 from their main rotation. Period. That's it. That's self-explanatory. That says everything you need to know about why this game went the way that it did. Only had 4 points off the bench today from your main rotation. Jewel had 9. Dana Evans had 5. Off of that alone, each of those 2 players individually outscored your main rotation off the bench. Not going to get it done. It's not enough.
Well, and when you start out the game with all 5 of your starters scoring immediately pretty much and everything, the ball is moving the way it should, and then to kind of like not revert back to the mean, but definitely revert back to things that weren't working for you in game 1, that doesn't make any sense. And so, this was a tough game to watch in multiple aspects, but to Steven's point, like, they did not play their brand of basketball again. This is 2 games in a row where their defense did not measure up to where it needs to be, and that's really what is the difference maker in these games and what could have won them the game versus what lost them the game in front of us today. And when you're Phoenix in this equation, your defense is what everything is rooted in. You're not going to win the game without your defense. So trying to change your identity now is not the answer to this equation. Just executing the game plan better is.
I mean, Kahleah said it best when they started training camp. Alyssa Thomas asked, are they going to guard this season? Because if not, then this result that they had gotten to, which is getting to the finals, is not feasible. It's not realistic. You defend, you get what you want. You don't get what you want. I think it's rather simple of an equation. When their defense has been to the level that it needs to be, if not exceedingly better than that, they've won. And they've won convincingly. There hasn't been much of close games when they play their defense to the extent that they can. So everything starts there and emanates from that.
Yeah, Holmes, if you would have been in our watch-along, you would have heard me say, my favorite part was when they just put their arms up. And that was absolutely a joke because they weren't. So, LOL, haha, on that answer. But I want to get into the Biden numbers. I feel like this always helps to paint a little bit of a better picture. We obviously just talked through the keys. Man, if you just put them up in front of me like that, that's almost, in parentheses, derogatory. That hurt me so bad. Steven, help me out.
Yeah, it was not a pretty game on the number side. Phoenix pretty much being outdone in almost all of these categories. I think the most, as everybody can see, everybody sees the numbers. I'm looking at the rebounds.
It's not.
And a lot of those were offensive rebounds that they got that made up for that because, that's got to be better. That's an effort stat right there. How many times in game one did I talk about on the live stream and even in postgame, Kyle not getting credited for rebounds because she helped someone else to tip it to a teammate or to take it away from an opponent, which then led to a teammate getting a rebound and then they're off to the races. Wasn't too many of those today. A lot of offensive rebounds for the starting group of the Vegas Aces in this one. And then they scored on pretty much every second chance opportunity they had. In game one, they had 8 offensive rebounds and they had 8 second chance points. So they had a point per offensive rebound that they got. That's what happens. And they lost that game by 1 possession. 8 offensive rebounds, 8 points conceded. You take away 3 of those offensive rebounds, you're potentially looking at a completely different game on that front. Got to do better with that. That's one of the most important margins. I think forcing turnovers and getting points off of those or fast break points is more important for Phoenix in this series, but second to that is the rebounds. You got to do a better job taking away the offensive ones and closing your possessions.
Well, and we can play the shoulda, coulda, woulda game all day long, but you have to imagine that Vegas's field goal percentage goes down if there's offensive rebounds.
If it's one and done, like that percentage goes down from 49 to closer to 40 where Phoenix was today.
Right, and that you're giving the other team possessions and more opportunity to score on you. You're giving the other team more opportunities to find confidence in their shot. We talked about, Jackie Young being another rhythm player in this series. You're giving a player like Jackie Young more chances to find that rhythm. And that's why a player like Jackie Young finishes with 32 points today?
Yep. And,
they did a fantastic job on her in the first game, but then you have Dana Evans and Jewel Lloyd doing what they're doing and combining for 42 points? Like it's not that you can pick one or the other in this series. You're gonna have to limit. I hate to revisit this statement so much, but Becky Hammond has said it over and over again. Like, the aces go as the guards go, and you're gonna have to limit all the guards. It's not just, let's let Jackie go crazy and Jewel can do nothing. No, you have to lock them all down and make A'ja do the work, basically, is the answer to this series, in my opinion.
That's it, because you're not going to stop A'ja Wilson. I think that's tried, tested, and true at this point.
Yep.
She's a 4-time MVP for multiple reasons. She's a 2-time champ for multiple reasons. You just want to contain her. And by containing A'ja, that means making her score the brunt of her points from the field. And to that point, 28 points for A'ja, 26 of those came from the field. Big time check mark. That's a green. That's a big time thumbs up. That's what you want. If she's getting 28, she has to get it the hard way.
Yep.
AT did a great job defending A'ja without fouling today. Only 4 free throw attempts. Now, she missed 2 of the 4 that she took, but still, majority of her points coming from the field. That's what you want. The Jackie Young part is what cannot happen. If you're not conceding, but if you're taking away something, you want to take away the impact of the others and let A'ja do what she does best as the best scorer in the league. That can't happen. Half of the equation is not going to get it done. You got to do the whole thing. Otherwise, it's not going to work in this series.
I feel like we've been beating a dead horse with the full
and
40
Michael
minutes.
P makes a great point. Only 8 points for A'ja in the second half as well. So to the point of doing your job against the queen, if we're sticking to chess, the queen of the aces, job well done. And AT was in a little bit of foul trouble at the end of the first half. But they still did a very solid job of guarding the best player on the other team. So if you're looking for things to take away positive-wise, that's one of them. I think Asia averaged like almost double-digit free throws against Phoenix in the regular season through those 3 games. She's not averaging that in this series right now.
Well, I want to ask some more questions that like maybe lead to a little bit of optimism, but I also want to get to these post-game press conference clips here shortly because I feel like they bring a lot of value to what we're talking about, and getting the insight from the team always helps us out. So I want to go to the break a little earlier than usual today, so I hope you guys are okay with that. Stick around. After this quick break here on the PHNX Mercury podcast, we're going to talk about post-game press conference clips and then a little more of a Game 3 preview. I don't know if you guys have heard, but we got a new ad break just for the finals from our guys over at Mountain America Credit Union, and this is one of the most exciting things to ever happen to me personally. Oh, well, we got the double rewards, but that's okay. We'll go back to that. There is a special Mercury card, so we're just going to insert a little mental note. The Mercury special exclusive card is the only place you can get it is Mountain America Credit Union. So I would head over there right now because I want the Mercury card. You probably want the Mercury card. But you can get double rewards while you're at it. Get the checking account that everyone needs. Account with built-in benefits. They have just the perks for you. Restaurant deals, mobile phone protection, telehealth access, identity protection, loan rate discounts, offers on travel and events, and so much more. If you're headed up to Vegas for Game 5, you're going to need some travel offers. So get on this. Visit macu.com/mystyle to apply. Insured by NCUA. Membership required. Based on eligibility. Some benefits require no cost, registration, or activation. Terms, conditions, and exclusion apply. La 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 la. If we need to go to Vegas, you know who else is going to help us out?
A lot of people.
My good friends over at the Circle K. Oh my gosh, Circle K is it's a must. It's a one-stop shop, must stop before I come up to the studio. I literally stopped over there today to get a little bit of beveraginos, a little bit of snacks, you know, just some light pre-game necessities before the watch along. And the Inner Circle Reward Program is what helped me do that because they gave me discounts on all the snacks I wanted. They gave me discounts on the drinks. They gave me discounts on my gas. Everything you could ever want from the Inner Circle, you get it. 25 cents off your first 5 fill-ups, 3 cents on every single fill-up after that. And then you can work your way up to the 5 cent off club just like me, Steven, and of course our awesome producer Kevin. We're all in the 5 cent off club. So be like us, join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit circlek.com for details. Hooey! I'm glad I got that out of the way a little bit early because I want to stick all of this together. I want to make sure that we get I want to make sure we call it out for what it is. And this game it was an unacceptable performance from the Phoenix Mercury. It was one that you would definitely like to see back. And if I'm the Mercury, like I'm still thinking about game 1 because you know that was right there for the taking. This game was it wasn't a blowout. We said it after the watch along was over, but like this could have been worse for the Mercury. But that game 1, like it was the Mercury's to lose. So I'm still thinking about that, and that's tough. But I want to get to this post-game sound because I think it's super important to hear from everybody involved in today's loss.
Yeah, we can go ahead and kick things off with what Nate Tibbetts had to say about the reason why Phoenix lost today's game.
We just kind of held the ball, over-dribbled the ball. Listen, I've been really proud of our offense the last 4 or 5 games, how we've moved it. We found matchups that we like. We did not do a good job of that today. And I'm not sure, you know, it's probably some of us and some of Vegas. But we need to do a better job of finding the mismatches, either in the post or in the pick and roll. And in the second quarter, we just kind of stood and watched, and you can't do that against a team like this.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's part of it. Half of it is the way they approach playing in the half court on offense. They have to be a whole lot more sound and sharp and playing to their strengths within that. I'm trying to figure out how to say it appropriately. They lost the plot offensively. I think that's the easiest way to put it. They stopped doing the things that made them the offense that they've been. Sabrina Ionescu was not let off the hook. They put her in action. And they put other players from New York in action in that first round series and put them in position to either make decisions on the ball or off it. They didn't do that in this one or the fourth quarter of game 1 for that matter, and largely lost it because of losing the plot. Series 2, After game one, they started putting Courtney Williams and Natisha Heidemann in a lot more action. After in game one, they were going at Bridget Carlton and Kayla McBride. They found the answer to the approach to offense that they are the best in the league at. They got in alignment with it, and they quadrupled down there, and they ultimately got a series win out of that. In this series, game two, significantly less pick and rolls for AT compared to game one. Credit Vegas for doing a better job defending that particular action where Alyssa is initiating pick and rolls, but you can't go away from what makes you the team that you've been on offense, and they have to clean that part of their process up. Anything else that stood out to you on the offensive end in today's game? We talked about it a lot during the live stream.
Before Erika gives her answer to that question, how much of that, Steven, like you say the Mercury losing the plot on offense, is what the Aces are doing defensively? Like, what are you seeing anything that the Aces are doing that are making it more complicated for the Mercury to get into their offense?
No, because you coming into this series no different than the last 3 games of the regular season series when Asia was available. They defended the same way. That's a lot of switching. And that's something you had 3 full games of film to go over and look at, okay, in these games, we didn't do X and we got result Y. Lost the plot in each of those 3 games on the offensive end in pockets, and you lost those last 3 games largely because of it. You look at game 1, they lost the plot offensively the second half of the third quarter throughout the entirety of the fourth quarter, and you saw what the result was. You look at today's game, they lost the plot in the second quarter and the third quarter offensively, and you see the result.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a common denominator in everything, and I'm saying, like, sometimes analysis can be very, very simple. And it's simply doing something better. It's not about Nate needing to call more plays or play more players. It's about the execution being to the level that got them to the finals. And it hasn't been there in either one of these first two games comprehensively.
Well, and like I hear what people are talking about expanding the rotation because that's how they got themselves in the playoffs in this situation. But at the same time, the wins that got them here to the finals and the playoffs have been based in these 7 to 8 players. So you could have that. You could have had that conversation if they were struggling versus New York in game 3. Sure, fine. But now we're 2 series into the playoffs. It's a kind of a tired conversation at this point. Like, and this is not to sound disrespectful to these players, but like, Kit, Lexi, and Kalani are not going to win us the series versus the Las Vegas Aces. Like, the star players that got us here in the first place in terms of getting the Mercury to the finals have been Kahleah Copper, Satou Sabally, Alyssa Thomas, DeWanna Bonner, Sammy Whitcomb. Are you really willing to sacrifice their minutes to try a brand new button that hasn't been pushed in almost, 3.5 to 4 weeks? So I hear what you're saying. I understand why fans at home might feel that way. I certainly do. But at the same time, you have to think back to what's been successful in the playoffs. What worked for them to get them here? And it has not been going to Lexi Held or Kalani Brown or any of those players. And again, that's not disrespectfully. It is actually the exact opposite. Extremely respectfully, it is not those going to those players. It is going to DeWanna Bonner, going to Sammy, going to Kat Westbeld, going back to what worked for you in the first place, which is Alyssa Thomas ran basketball. So, like, we want to talk about the lack of paint touches, which is what got them into that second and third quarter rut today. Like, things were not working for them in the way that it has been. So going to brand new rotations is not going to help them. If anything, it's going to kind of do the exact opposite at this point. Like, if the Phoenix Mercury are not going to make it work with the top 7 to 8 players in that rotation, they're not going to win a championship. It's pretty simple. And I like what Steven said. Like, sometimes analysis can be kind of lazy because it is that simple. And it's that these 8 players are the ones that are going to win the Phoenix Mercury championship.
I mean, what set the tone for the latter stretch of the season was condensing the rotation to the 8 players that we've seen in the playoffs. What won the first round was the players we saw, that 8-player rotation. What won the second round was that 8-player rotation. Like, you don't want to make haste decisions on that front. And it's the strength of that 8-player group, as simple as I've been saying it, just figuring it out. It's not always going to look the exact same, but just figuring it out together. Sometimes it's them needing to lean more into activity defensively. Sometimes it's them leaning more into Satou or Kahleah to create a little bit more on offense because of the ways that teams might be trying to take things away from Alyssa. Or it might just be matchup for matchup. If AT's got to go up against Asia Wilson, But Kahleah's going up against someone that's less than Jackie Young defensively. That's an advantage. You want to play to your strengths. They don't have a matchup for Satou if A'ja Wilson is guarding Alyssa Thomas full time. That should be an advantage. On top of the switching, they're conceding advantage to you. In process, you have to do a good job of manipulating that. And that manipulation is what got them to the finals.
Right.
That's not what surfaced in this final series comprehensively. First half of game 1, sure. First quarter of game 2, absolutely. But they lost the plot thereafter. You can't have these plot-losing moments. You can't have these 20 points or less quarters in this series. It's just not going to be enough.
I want to talk to you about Ariello's comments about Mac on A'ja and AT on Jackie. And in particular, like we actually during the watch along, we talked about Satou on A'ja and what type of matchup that could be. Mm-hmm. Just what did you see from that in particular in this game? And do you think that that's going to be a button they press hopefully earlier in game 3? Because it's, to your point, like the mismatches is the button that was kind of ominous in game 2 versus Minnesota that, you know, the players wanted Nate to go to sooner. Mm-hmm. Do you think maybe they've been slower to that approach in this series because there's more games, and now will they probably press that button pretty early in game 3?
I imagine they would. I guess I'll answer it in sequencing. I like the idea of AT being on Jackie, with the caveat of if Jackie is in action with A'ja Wilson and it's Satou that's guarding A'ja, AT and Satou in action defensively should be an automatic switch. AT shouldn't be having to pick up Jackie at half court. AT should be able to just stay at the level of screens or handoffs and just pass the baton off to Satou to take over for Jackie as AT gets to the matchup that was originally going to be those two guarding those two players. So they have to do a better job of the process into that. I feel like at certain moments, AT, this might not have necessarily been her decision. Maybe it was the game plan, but picking up Jackie Young, anything 2 feet beyond the three-point line is a little bit too much for me, just because she's not a pull-up three-point threat the likes of Caitlin Clark or a Sabrina Ionescu or a Kelsey Mitchell.
Even Satou or Kahleah, I feel like have more of a pull-up game than Jackie maybe in this situation. So you're absolutely right there.
The threat isn't her range.
Right.
She can hit those, especially when she's in rhythm, but she's trying to get downhill first, second, and third.
She's not looking for that deep shot.
And the other part of that is if you're switching it, you don't have to do that extra work all the time. You can mix it in sometimes, but if you're ultimately just switching off and Satou's now taking over for that, that's taking away the pull-up pocket anyway. So if your extended pickup point is to take away pull-up threes, but you're switching, you can just rely on your switching because that's taking away the same thing. You just don't have to work as hard. So I think they can do a better job within that defensively if that is what they want to go to. But I do think finding ways to add more nuance to your approach on defense is important, because it's clear that Vegas has understood which buttons to press and how to go about doing that. They've done matchup hunting on their own. I talked about it on Twitter, but the lineups in the secondary fashion where it's Monique and Sammy on the floor at the same time, Vegas has just punished those lineups. And it's because they're understanding, okay, whichever one of those two is guarding Jackie, let's put them in primary action, or Jewel Lloyd the same, and make them make decisions. Obviously, Monique is not someone that has those issues in terms of that, but it's the size difference between her and Jackie. Jackie and Chelsea are able to kind of play through hits and contact a little bit more to kind of get to the spots that they want to get to. So they just got to be better with the approach to defense and just generally be better with activity more than anything else. And then the last, probably most important part is grabbing rebounds. Getting first stops has never been a problem for this team. When they allow teams to get second and third opportunities and you're defending for 48 to more than 60 seconds on somehow one possession, it's impossible to be good defensively if you have to give up 3 possessions in one.
When they're playing with the defensive activity that they play with, it is, and I heard Rebecca and Ryan talk about this in the pre-games or in, just conversations during the game, but like it is exhausting to play that level of defense. And then when you have to do it for 2 to 3 possessions in a row
on one possession,
you don't get a chance to even reset yourself offensively or get a little confidence back and trying to go up for a layup, or heck, even going up to the free throw line. Like, it really wears on you. And so it's when you're playing, when your entire identity is focused on the defensive end and you have to do that for extra amounts of time over and over and over again, you're eventually going to be exhausted.
Yeah. Your reward for playing good defense is supposed to be the possession.
Right.
Not playing more defense. And if you multiply that across 4 quarters, at some point it's going to start to kind of break you a little bit,
right.
because it's like, yo, we can't get off the floor defensively.
Yep.
Now it's feeling more like a football game where you're defending for 4 downs versus 1 possession,
right.
1 play. That gets too much. That becomes too much, especially when you have the tough shot makers that Vegas does on their end.
And they were making the tough shots today. Like,
absolutely.
That 49% showed in every facet tonight. So let's get back into these post-game press conference clips if you guys are cool with that.
Yeah. Next one, Phoenix in their 3-point shooting. Today was not their best in any capacity on that front. I feel like to the paint touches point, obviously the points in the paint wasn't an issue, but the volume of touches of the paint that they got, whether it was a live drive or cuts, it felt like it wasn't to the extent that it should be, which kind of made their 3-point shooting suffer some. A lot of late clock attempts, a lot of out of rhythm 3-point attempts, a lot of pull-up 3-point attempts that weren't coming in response to or as a solution to coverage. So here's what Nate had to say about their 3-point shooting prowess and the kind of shot profile of today's game.
Obviously, the number is fine. I didn't think we got the same kind of threes that we did in game 1. I thought in game 1 it was like from one side to the other side, good versus great. The ball just wasn't popping the way it has been, and some of it was just us. I thought we were pretty stagnant offensively, and then we tried to force it a little bit ourselves and try to go get it, and that's part of us just kind of figuring out as a group.
Yeah, 5 for 28 in today's game, 17.9%. In game 1, they were, and I'm double checking as we speak, had the fourth quarter box score, 14 for 36 in game 1, 38.9%. Now, you get to 14 because of the volume of paint touches, but it's not always the paint touch that comes from someone dribbling the ball and getting to the paint. Sometimes it's a cut. Alyssa Thomas gets double teamed in the post. Natasha Mack's matchup leaves her to go send a double team from the baseline on Alyssa Thomas's post up. Mack cuts, and behind Mack in the opposite corner of AT's touch, Kahleah Copper, wide open catch and shoot 3-point opportunity. She knocks that down. It's because of the paint touch that was stemming from the double team that flattened the defense out. The pass stretched it. You got a wide open 3, knocked it down. We saw a little bit of that in the first quarter. We did not see much of that after the first quarter. That's why they had the slippage in process in the second quarter, that speed bump of a quarter that was, where they only scored 10. I think the overwhelming key, I think we talked about it in the preview series, or the preview of the series in our pod on Thursday. I think I said paint touch is where it's important as anything for them, because it's either putting pressure on them to foul you get opportunities, shots on goal there, or you're getting opportunities to shoot threes.
Yep.
You don't get to run your plays when teams are switching like that, because they're just taking away any of the screens that you're setting. So how can you go about getting those shots that you want? Go get a paint touch. It's that simple.
It is their winning recipe. And
it's been it all season long. Yep.
And I think back to that moment when I don't remember who exactly asked AT about it, but about surrounding her with shooters. This is why, because when you get what?
That was me.
Oh, it was you?
Mm-hmm.
And she said, oh, I've only been asking that for my whole career. My bad, Steven. I'm usually not in the room.
She
to
basically
be fair.
said she was begging.
To be fair, I'm usually not in the room, but I'm glad it was
begging
you.
for shooters, yeah.
Because and so she wanted it this entire time for this exact reason, and they had just have to revert back and in the most positive way I can possibly say, they have to revert back to the mean, which is their brand of basketball, which is getting Alyssa Thomas paint touches, getting the ball inside somehow so that they can collapse the defense and pass the ball out. That is literally the recipe for success all season long. And so you just need more from everybody on this team.
Yep.
You need more on the execution and you need more on the will to win. You guys have been listening to me talk about, pursuit of the basketball for the last 2 freaking years. So you need to pursue the basketball, get the rebound, get the stop, get the kill that we've been talking about. We've been talking about closing out on the defensive end for 2 freaking seasons. They have to do that. And in order to do that, they have to close the possession, get the rebound, and get the possession back for themselves. I want to see Alyssa Thomas's, bobbling? I want to see her ponytail.
See the bun bouncing in the wind in transition.
Bouncing. My bad, y'all. Bouncing in the wind as much as possible. I heard it was cold in Michelob Ultra Arena. I need her bouncing in the cold freaking air the whole length of the court. Well, not the whole length of the court because she's QB1. She can pass it up forward. But I need it bouncing for as much of the game as possible. And I don't remember who said it above, but I think that, running the aces is probably a little bit better of an answer to your problems than not. Like, you need to wear these people out.
You can't run if you're not getting stops.
Right. So you got to get the stop and run the heck out of them.
Everything keeps coming back to the team's identity stamp inside of the floor, and that's defense, defense, defense. Play defense, you get what you want. You don't play defense to the level you need to, now things become a lot more muddy and there's a lot more ambiguity with the game. While we're on the topic of Alyssa Thomas, we can go ahead and get to Becky Hammon post-game. So she said some not necessarily revealing things, but there's some detail with what she said that I'll kind of provide context to after. So here's Becky Hammon speaking about what it is to guard Alyssa Thomas and how they go about guarding her as well as the Mercury.
Well, we weren't letting the deep penetration with the ball into the paint, so she wasn't getting those spray out threes. She wasn't we just did a better job of being more sturdy up front in our defense. The other thing was, our guard to guard actions were a lot more solid today. Wasn't perfect, but it was way better than it was the other day. And that's, anytime we can hold somebody in the teens in the quarter, that's our goal. And I've seen them do it too many times for me to not demand that from them, because I know when they're locked in, that's what they're capable of.
So what Becky talks about with Alyssa Thomas and trying to take away the volume of her paint touches, she's talking about when AT has the ball in pick and roll. And what we saw in the first half of game 1 is the exact contrast of what she desired. Their guards were getting ran through, ran around, split, and AT was just living in the paint. And in alignment with the 3-point assist volume that we've been talking about here since preseason, in alignment with the AT leading the league in assist point that we've been talking to this season. I've also talked about AT leading the league in kick-out passes. You get a kick-out pass off of a drive, but you get it because of the prowess of you getting downhill and what that does to a defense, the urgency and reaction that it gets. AC got a lot of that in the first half of game 1. Second half of game 1, it was not there. It started with the adjustment that Becky and company made with their guards defending AT and pick and roll. The ways in which they were in there show and recover. They were doing a much better job of holding their ground, being a little bit more aggressive on the angle they were taking to take away AT trying to turn the corner, but also kind of timing up when they would detach from the person that's screening so that she can't just go and split it like the ways that she did in the first half of game 1 as well, if you can kind of walk with me on that. So hat tip to, in particular, Jewel Lloyd and Dana Evans. They've done a much better job of the mismatch hunting approach from Phoenix on offense, not conceding that into the advantage that it was in the first half of game 1. And that takes away some of the paint touches. That's a good counter and adjustment from Vegas. The counter for Phoenix is, are you going to do this for 40 minutes? If you do it for 4 or 5 possessions in a row, that's amazing. Gold star for you. What about if I keep going to this and your guards have to keep taking these hits, or Sammy Whitcomb starts slipping out of that if you know they're going to show on the screen? What if Sammy, because Asia's trying to navigate it, AT essentially has 2 to the ball. What if Sammy just slips downhill just a little bit? AT could throw a little touch pass there. What if Sammy pops and now AT has 2 and Sammy's wide open and now there's a 2-on-1 on the backside if that next defender comes over to try to guard Sammy? And now that's Satou or Kahleah shooting corner threes, or DB shooting wide open threes in the corner. There's counters to that. Phoenix has to do a better job of their approach to it. Cool, we know you're defending it well. How often are you going to defend it well? And also acknowledging we still have counters on the board that we can get to from that very same action. You can't bail them out by taking away what's been your best advantage, creating action, a riddle for the entire league to solve, and do them a solid by just not going to that. Double down on it and see how if they can sustain with that. If they do, cool. We still have shooters that we can get it out to off of that, but you can't just go away from your strengths. And there's more to that on the post-ups front, but to the AT part in particular, I think that's a lot of it. You can't bail them out by going away from what you've been the best in the league at.
Well, and we talked about the post-ups during the watch-along and how they weren't doing it enough. And
the first quarter of game one, what was it? 9 points from Satou, and all of it came from the free throw line because of post-ups or direct post-ups where they didn't foul because they were just too small.
Yep.
And she was literally doing it too small after fouls and free throws.
And
didn't see enough of that.
To our own points, like, not to make it sounds like it taps on the board or taps on the glass, but like literally, why are you not doing what has worked for you up until this exact moment? And I liked what you said a lot about lost the plot. That is a very respectful way to say it, because it genuinely, they did just go away from their recipe for success. And you're not gonna open a bake shop. You're not gonna open a cake shop and say, I'm the cake boss. No free ads for the TLC guy, but for real, I'm the cake boss. And then you're going to just change up the recipe 2 weeks into owning your cake shop. That's not how you build a successful cake shop. No, that you build the cake shop using the recipes, using the fondue. I'm sure that our guy Kevin's girl knows all about successful cake shops. She's had plenty of success with her cake shop. Snaps and claps for our girl. I'm not sure if she wants her name said on the pod or not, but for real, snaps and claps for that girl. She builds successful recipes, and then she does those recipes over and over and over again, and people keep coming back because they're delicious. You don't just change up the recipe after you own the cake shop and people continue to come back. No, that's not how you have a successful cake shop. So to keep a long story short, to keep my TED Talk to a minimum, like, they just have to go back to what works for them.
That's it. I mean, the proof of concept is there. They've seen it work. They've seen teams do a solid job defending it, but they haven't gone away from it. They just grew and added more layers to it. I think the layers to it part is what they need to get back in alignment with. We saw early in the season, Dallas Wings. They say, you want to run pick and roll with AT? What if we drop our big all the way to the middle of the paint? You can't run a pick and roll from the middle of the paint. So what did Phoenix start doing? They flipped those inverted pick and rolls into dribble handoffs, and now Sammy Whitcomb is coming off a handoff from Alyssa Thomas, and either the big has to step up because Sammy can knock down that shot easily, and when that big steps up, the pocket pass is there for AT. This is the cat and mouse. This is the chess. And Phoenix is losing the chess battle not because of a lack of options on the table, but because it doesn't feel like they're going to those options on the table with the same type of snappy cadence that has made them a riddle to solve when AT has the ball in their hands. So, I mean, that's why I'm not panicking. I feel like it's as simple as you get back in alignment with your strengths, even when it's met with resistance, and you're going to get the result that you desire, no different than you did in the first 2 rounds. It might just take a little bit more work, which is what you signed up for. You put this team together knowing you were going to have to work. Yep. You're going to have to get uncomfortable. Conflict resolution. Satou mentioned it on the podcast with Sue Bird. She said that resilience, that conflict resolution is what not necessarily surprised her, but it's what she feels like has gotten them to the point that they were, which is obviously going up against the New York Liberty in the first round and ultimately winning that and the second round. So
when I think about this team is made of, I think of the regular season losses to Minnesota and the ones that Ka pointed to when she says, I like us. Like,
they didn't give up in any of those games. They
didn't win those games, and she still walked away feeling like we good. And that's the mindset that this team has to have at this point. You're 0-2 in the finals. Your back is borderline against the wall. You're coming back home to Phoenix, and you have to win these games.
Yep.
These are must-win games. You're going to have the loud, and I'm going to say loud-ass X factor behind you. Like, this is and this is not a slight to Las Vegas and what they've done in building that franchise into something that is very, very special. But the X Factor is a one-of-a-kind fan base. Like, you do not get this type of treatment anywhere else in the country. Yes, Barclays is great. Yes, Target Center is fantastic. Michelob Ultra packs the house up every game. But the X Factor is unconditional love and community support. Like, they don't come from afar. These are local, homegrown fans that pour out love and support for this team. And so when you're back at home versus, the Las Vegas Aces, you have to win these games. I think, Homes and Ariello, and I hope I'm saying Ariello, are we yellow? Great. I'm not sure. But yes, a DB and Sabally revenge game. Like, we need these scorers to come out with a vengeance. They have to come out with a team first, score first mindset. And I think if they come out with that, defend first also, like defend first, score second, I guess would probably be their mindset. But if they come out with that, this is their game to lose. I love Homes in the comments today. He's coming with the smoke today. I want to see some outright nasty, disrespectful shots from the Phoenix Mercury.
I want to see some outright disrespectful extra efforts. Everything emanates from the defensive end with this team. When their defense is clicking to that best in the league caliber, their offense all of a sudden feels like it's indefensible because teams are like, man, we keep playing and we're in transition and our matchups are not set. AT's bun is bouncing in the wind every single possession. Now you got Kyle and Sammy filling the wings, and they're more than comfortable shooting these catch and shoot threes because we have to load up the paint against Alyssa Thomas's the threat of her drive. Also, we got Satou running right behind AT, so if she drives to the paint and we collapse there, now she's throwing that little dump-off pass, and Satou's throwing up all of these in transition. It becomes too much to deal with, but it's because of the defense and sustaining. 3 stops in a row, get a kill, score on 2 or 3 of those, force a timeout, come back out, rinse and repeat. Now all of a sudden you got a 12 or 14-point lead, and it's also coming with your defense feeling like it's overwhelming your opponents because of the activity. They got to get back in alignment there. Again, the proof of concept is there. When they play to their strengths, they haven't lost a game yet these playoffs. When they don't, or it's not a full 40 minutes of it, they've lost those games.
Right.
They lost game 1 against both of those first round and second round teams, and then game 1 and 2 of this one because of that specifically.
It's really simple, and it's almost so simple that it's stupid because this team, when they play to who they are borderline unbeatable. Like, we talk about the, embarrassment of riches of Nate Tibbetts on this team, and when those embarrassment of riches execute to the game plan and do accordingly to what their strong suits are, this team is extremely hard to beat. And don't get me wrong, the Las Vegas Aces are a no-joke type of caliber team. Like, we are talking about a living, breathing dynasty that is still actively in the WNBA right now.
The only one.
Right. We literally spoke about this on Friday. Like, this is the only dynasty in the WNBA right now. You can say
you
this.
spoke on it. I agree.
You can say this and you can say that about the New York Liberty and the Minnesota Lynx for that matter. But the Las Vegas Aces are the only active dynasty in the WNBA right now. So,
and that's with having even lost like 3 significant pieces as well as 2 head coach or 2 assistant coaches to that.
I talked about about PTSD from Sid Colson in the semifinals. Like, we are talking about a completely different Las Vegas Aces team that is still an active dynasty. Like, and so I don't think Ariello is right that they're scared of the Aces. I think they are mentally locked down. I think there is a bogged down mentality right now that they have to shake off. I need them to play the most insane, diabolical round of Uno on this flight home that they've ever played, because I need them to just shake the heebie-jeebies off. These finals, heebie-jeebies, and I'm going to be on the side of everyone else regarding Nate Tibbetts' challenges. I've been counting down on these challenges all season long. They're like one of the most fun things for me the entire game. And the fact that he hasn't been utilizing them, in my opinion, correctly. Like, even today, when I don't want to see him challenge something when they're down 14 in the fourth quarter and you've got the bench in that, and not the meaningful bench. And that is not derogatory. Please don't take that disrespectfully. But that's not the point in the game where I want to see you challenge play. Like, challenge it in meaningful minutes where it matters, because this is a team that deserves that. And when you got AT on the ground begging you to challenge a call, that is a call that I'm okay with him wasting a timeout on. If they lose it, whatever. But you have to have the back of your team. You have to have the back of your players, especially your star player in that moment. And when AT is dogging on you and barking at you for a challenge, you give it to her in that moment. And so it was one of those moments where I was definitely deflated a little bit, but at the same time, I respect the coaching staff for what they've been doing all season long. They have very rarely been wrong. Very rarely are they wrong on those challenge plays. So I want to give them credit where credit is due, and that they know what they're doing better than I do. I'm just a regular schmegular girl who watches a lot of basketball. But at the same time, like, you want to see them win those in these moments because that's when it matters the most. You want to see the team feel supported. You want to see the team feel backed in these moments. Like, these are huge moments that matter a lot in the end of the game. So while they aren't won or lost at any one particular moment in the game, and I'm not going to sit here arguing about the officiating in this game because I don't think it was something that can be argued about. But
play better is the one.
Right, but you got to play better, and you want to see them back each other. And yeah, like Annie said, Girl Dad's challenge record is elite, so I'm gonna let the guy slide on this one. But I want to see the same clock management and the same excellence we've seen in the execution piece of it from him in particular continue throughout these finals.
For sure. And to that point, here was Nate post-game today speaking to what he saw as the place where they needed to be better most stemming from game 2.
We're here because of our defense, and to give up 89 points in game 1 and 91 in game 2, I know they're a really good offensive team. They've got great players, but we have to be better at the defensive end.
As simple as that. They got to the set numbers, 89 and 91, in 2 different ways. So I'll say that part and the context within that matters. But the common denominator in that context is that Phoenix's offense hit a snag, and that snag and that speed bumping process sustained for entirely too long. You might have a stretch where Vegas goes on an 11-0 run. That's what great teams do. This team has championship DNA at its foundation. That's going to happen. You have to recourse, get yourself back on track. It can't be it's 11-0 run, timeout called, turnover immediately out of the timeout, they go and score, and they just continue to pile on top of that. You got to nip things in the bud as soon as you have a chance to. And to that point, the defense not being where it needs to be is what's going to continue to hold them back. That's been what got them to this point in the season in terms of getting to the finals. You have to get back to getting the absolute most out of that. And to that point, that's where I continue to bring back let's see what Satou looks like on Asia. If she's just going to go and get what she gets, let's see if you can play with the margins around that and find other ways to take things away from those other 4 players that are on the court with A'ja Wilson. I feel like I'm not going to say are slow to adjust, because when their adjustments have happened, they've hit in a course or a series shifting style of fashion. Look at the series against Minnesota. They go to switching in the second half of game 2, and that's where the all-time comeback, the 3rd highest comeback in league history, comes from. I imagine game 3 is going to have a demand for them to go to that in some capacity. And I think by switching the matchup on A'ja at times and being able to get a little bit more out of the AT in that roamer role defensively, where she can just kind of flow around and help and blow things up and send double teams and kind of play with that rhythm from a defensive perspective, I think that's where there's going to be some goods for them to get more activity, force more turnovers, and do some of those things that I'm speaking to that haven't been showing through these first 2 games so far.
Do we have any more post-game sound, or is that the last one?
We got a couple more.
Oh, okay.
Next one we want to get to, actually, you know what? I think that might be all of them.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah, here's Nate speaking to everything that is game 3 and just the confidence that he has in his group going forward because of the fire that they've already gone through and come out successful with.
Yeah, I mean, give the Aces credit. They played a really good game today. What gives me confidence is, we've been down before. We've been overlooked. Obviously people are going to start talking about how good Las Vegas has been, and they should. But we've kind of always bounced back, right? And so we're excited to go home, play in our home arena. Vegas did what they were supposed to do. I think we, played a really good game 1, and they came out and they were ready today.
So they haven't been down 0-2 before, but where they have been down is behind to start a series in a best-of-5 situation. That's what this series is right now. First 2 games are done, 5 games left. You win more than your opponent does in this window, you have a chance.
Yep.
You got to go back and just find that response button that you had in each of the first 2 series and apply it appropriate to this matchup with the Las Vegas Aces on this stage in particular.
As we look to game 4 or game 3, oh my goodness, my bad, guys.
I ain't thinking about game 4 yet.
I'm not. I want to think of this as a mini 1-game series. This is a 1 game you must win. They know they must win. I assure you of that. What? I don't want to ask what your keys are because we know what the keys are at this point. We know. But what immediate adjustments can you verbally say on the plane ride back, and then what is your prediction for game 3?
First adjustment is do better, be better,
execute.
That's not Mercury basketball,
right?
That's not the best that y'all have individually or collectively as one unit. That's not your best.
I want to ask you a question about preparation for this next game. If you're the Mercury, are you watching the game beginning to end, or are they preparing specific clips? Like when you think of how they scout after this game 2 performance, like I would think that they might just let them watch the game first through all the way through and then start from there, because I think if they watch this game beginning to end, it's pretty obvious where their shortcomings are.
Yeah. Nah, they don't have to watch the whole game. I will, because I'm just
a sicko.
Yeah, but they don't. I think the coaches naturally are probably at halftime of the game now. Some of them at least. But it's less about the game comprehensively. They're losing these games in pockets. So I looked at on Twitter the 4th quarter pocket of game 1, and the defense falling off a cliff. And them not getting a stop switch in turn helped their offense, which would keep them from only scoring 15 points in that 4th quarter. Kind of piecing the story together, but looking at it, instead of looking at how it got to the bottom, it's looking at from the bottom all the way back up to how they can get to the top. And this one, you look at the 2nd quarter and the 3rd quarter, the middle quarters. 2nd quarter, you look at your offense or lack thereof. You only had 10 points. Look at why that was. You took the ball out the basket a lot, so your defense wasn't at the level it needed to be. But you also did a lot of standing around and watching. The ball movement wasn't there. No paint touches. No second chance opportunities. All of those little things that make you good and get you the shot quality you want weren't there. So I would look at the 2nd quarter offensively, stemming from the defense, and then I would look at the 3rd quarter. Why did Jackie Young have 21? Look at the reasons why. We switched here. The switch wasn't sharp. It wasn't aggressive. It was a soft one, so she just came off and she just pulled up against it as a solution to the coverage, as if she was going up against drop coverage. And she didn't really even see a hand that was in her face at that point. She was able to turn the corner here because our pickup point was a little bit too high. We didn't do a good job with this switch, so she was able to get whatever she wanted. Like, I feel like there's just a lot of little things that just added up because they started happening in succession, one after another, and that build-up led to something that was ultimately insurmountable. So, small side of games. Look at that 2nd quarter stretch and look at that 3rd quarter stretch. And I feel like a lot of the answers to the questions that they're going to have might be right there.
As I look to game 3, I'm going to be super blunt. I think that the Mercury need to come out and not only win the game, but I think they need to have a 12-point victory of their own. I think that they need to have a statement victory in this game. I think it needs to be a game that they're very strong in their principles in. I think they need to not only play a good game, but a great game for 40 straight minutes. I think to your own point, like this is a must-win game. Not, we talk about game 3s in the series of 5s being the ultimate winner of the series, and we're not to that point of this series just yet. But game 3 is by far the most important game of the series for the Mercury right now.
Most important game of the season,
right?
For the Mercury,
they cannot drop this game, and to think that the Aces are going to come in ice cold would be very stupid and silly of them. The Aces are going to come in extremely prepared. This is a moment in their season that they've been in before. These stars, in terms of Jewel Lloyd, Asia Wilson, Chelsea Gray, Jackie Young,
Evans has been in this role before.
Right. They've been in this exact position before.
Those are all players with that
Kirsten
bling.
Bell's been with them this whole championship dynasty time. Yep. So, I mean, these are all players with the necessary preparation for this moment. And so to think that they are going to come in underprepared would be a very silly and goofy thing to be saying. But the Phoenix Mercury need to come in very, very, very locked in defensively. They needed to make everything difficult for the Las Vegas Aces. Everything needs to, while the series is an uphill battle for the Phoenix Mercury, they need to make this particular game the biggest hill that the Las Vegas Aces have ever had to climb. Ever.
Yep. What game 2 was against the New York Liberty on the road and what that defensive performance was.
They need all of that and more.
That is exactly the template route to success for me.
Yep.
Now, obviously, they might not necessarily win by 20 or whatever the final differential was in that game.
But I need
the
Mount
point
Everest.
being, you need this is our best defensive performance of the season, adjacent or even better than that type of performance in game 3. You don't have to worry about your crowd showing up and rallying behind you. Give them more reason to cheer than just you being in the finals and being at home for a game.
I agree.
Use it to your advantage.
Yep.
Once they get the defense chanting and you get the drums, they actually got people in the arena. I think Scorch was banging the drums against the Minnesota Lynx. Play off of that. That's an advantage for you.
Yep.
Let that bleed into one possession after another, after a quarter. You're going to get what you want from that, but everything is going to emanate from what is your barometer defensively.
Yep.
Are you in the best defensive performance of the season space, or are you in the we're just doing okay? Because the okay is not going to get it done against this.
Yep.
It wouldn't have got it done against any of these teams this entire playoff stretch. Keep it honest.
Yeah. Especially once you get to the finals. Like, they know what's on the line. This is the stakes are the highest. Like, you're going to get everybody's best at this point. I mean, you're seeing it in real time with Jewel, Jackie, and Dana. And so if you're going to get the best out of those 3 in these 2 games, you have to get the best out of our big 3 in ours. So these home games are very, very important. They are by far the most important games of the season. I hope to see all of you guys there in the new Fire PHNX Mercury versus everybody. Well, the Valley versus everybody, I guess I should say. And I really like the shirt. I like the orange. I'm not going to lie. It's fly.
It's gonna be first basketball game being played at the morgue, and you want for your defensive activity to put a team in that position where it feels like they're in one of those because of the kills that you're compiling.
I ain't calling it the morgue 100%. Until it turns into the morgue. Until they make it the morgue, I'm calling it the Morty. So they better figure it out because it's Morty until I'm giving it a. Kevin looks confused over there.
We can't call it the morgue.
Why?
Isn't that where you go after you pass away?
Exactly.
Steven.
So teams go to there to die.
Yeah, but like...
Do you not get it?
I get it.
Kevin, we don't have much to work with the name here.
Look.
You can't take that part away.
You can't. So
they like...
The other option is legit Morty.
I don't mind Morty. Morty's fun.
I liked Morty. Everyone gave me hell for it, though.
I just don't like introducing the morgue during the finals. That seems like a bad juju.
Well, it wasn't our choice to have the name of the arena changed.
And again, I could not believe how quick they got that signage up. That signage is crazy.
I'm just working with what we have to work with.
Valid.
Well, I want you guys to all leave a comment down below if you guys are going to be there for game 3. And then also don't forget to leave a like, 5-star review, thumbs up wherever you get your podcast. We work really hard. We've been on camera for literally 3.5 hours straight at this point. And it's all for you at home to be having fun along with us. So help us help you. Leave a like, 5-star review, thumbs up, all of that good stuff. We got like still seriously almost 40 people in here. And I'm not seeing 40 likes. So I don't really appreciate that, you guys. Kevin won't sleep very good, as they say on the Wildcat Show. So...
We'll have some additional content coming between now and game 3 that's going to take place on Wednesday. Game 4 is going to be on Friday. So the rest of the schedule of the series is a little up in the air as far as time goes. But you would just get to Wednesday and handle your business there in succession and then get to Friday after that. But yeah, we'll have content for y'all between now and then. So be on the lookout for those things and take a moment to breathe. Because this is what it's all about on the final stage. I imagine a lot of y'all are not new to the final stage and all of the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows, and the emotional swings of a final series, considering everything DT did for her 20-season career prior to this season. So buckle up. We got some fun to have the rest of the way.
What he's saying is don't worry. All right, let's get into our game 3 predictions real quick so we can get the heck out of here. Since Kevin decided to just disappear off the face of the planet for nearly 3 days, he has to go first.
Mercury, 84. Aces, 80.
X Factor?
AT. AT redeems, like at least statistically redeems herself, has another game that looks more familiar to what we have come accustomed to with AT. I'll say near triple-double, like 23, 8, and 7.
I like that.
By X Factor, we mean player of the game because
Correct,
that's what
correct.
we label our players of the game, the X Factor, akin to the Mercury fans, et cetera, et cetera. For those that are new here, so that y'all understand what we're saying, because naturally, if it's the definition of X Factor, obviously AT is beyond overqualified for that. So he means MVP, player of the game.
Steven?
Target number offensively is 86 for me this series. They have to get to that number as a team. They did not get there today. They did not win. They got there in game one, had a chance, and things did not fall in their favor. I think they get back to that number, 86. I'll say they hold Vegas to 82. So another game that goes into the clutch, another game that's going to push the limits of your emotional stamina. But it's one that they will figure out a way to win, and it's going to be because of Alyssa Thomas leading the way. But I think it's going to be a lot of Kahleah Copper throwing up the threes, getting to the cup, getting to the free throw line, and their defense more than anything, finding its footing and sustaining 10 toes down. So 86-82 Mercury win in game 3, and Kahleah Copper is going to be my X Factor / player of the game.
I'm going to stand on business regarding what I said earlier, and that I need this to be a statement win from the Phoenix Mercury. I think 10-point victory, 10 to 12-point victory is not out of the question. Obviously, they haven't played up to their standards so far yet in this series, but bringing it back home, I have expectations. I think the Mercury would tell you that they have expectations for themselves as well. And so I don't think a 10-point victory is completely just out the window. I think that the Mercury, I think the 86 points is a really good benchmark. So I'm going to go 86-76. I think if they can hold the Aces under 80, that's a recipe for the Mercury to win the game all day long. So I'm hopeful that sentiment holds true. I think a 10-point victory would be absolutely, it would inject, I think, a ton of confidence, a lot of good vibes into the fan base as well as into the team itself. So I think it would be a good move. Obviously, they can't just go out there and control so control the controllables, get the rebounds that you need, make the possessions out of thin air like you've been seeing the Aces do in the last, especially game 2. And I think we've got ourselves a series. So I think this is going to be a really fun game. I think the Mercury fans will not regret coming out to a game like this. Home S, you kill me with a 107-58-point victory.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah, I'm down. That sounds like I'm just going to be having a ball on the postgame show. Like, Kevin's going to be following me around with the iPhone talking about where's Erika going in the studio because I'm going to be having a time. But I think this is it. The stage is set for a fun series to continue to play out. Chess, not checkers. We got a heck of a series left to go. So still at least 2 more games to go. And obviously the Mercury, we expect them to turn this around and win the next 2 games. So we got a heck of a series left to cover. So be tapped in with us. We're not going to be doing watch-alongs because the Mercury are going to be
in the chat.
the Mercury are going to be back at home on Wednesday. So you can catch us here live for the post-game show where you can catch every post-game show, whether it's here for us. Cardinals going to be having a post-game show here in a little bit. I'm here. The vibes sound like they're still up. So it sounds like the Cardinals are still on top. So stay locked in with PHNX Sports. Leave a like, 5-star review, thumbs up, subscribe to our channel while you guys are at it. And don't forget to tap in with our new PHNX shirt. And you can get it for free if you become a diehard today. I haven't even done a read for this today, so let me just do it really quick. Become a diehard. You can tap your way into getting a free shirt like the brand new one that just dropped here just a few days ago. Well, literally today. Oh no, I'm not sure that the vibes are just as good for the Cardinals anymore. Oh gosh.
Yeah, it's been a lot of reactions like that the last 30 minutes.
Oh man, so that's tough.
Seeing it out the corner of my eye.
Oh man, that's tough. But
Cardinals have yet to score in the second half. And we are deep into the fourth quarter.
Oh, it's just like the Mercury stepping out of troubles. Oh, no. I'm sick. Arizona sports not having the best day of its life, but also not having the worst day of its life. So, nonetheless, F it, we ball. Y'all have a great rest of your day. We'll be back with you guys on Wednesday after the postgame or for the postgame show. Be sure to follow us over on Twitter at PHNX_Mercury. You can follow this guy at StephenPG3. You can follow our super dope producer at Kevo Post. And you can follow me at Erika Lee Day, where I'm going to spend the next 2 days being depressed. See you guys on Wednesday. Bye.
We all city like the mayor.